You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am the Jacob Valk, and you're not. I've got to start by breaking down the NBA playoffs, more specifically, Celtics-Nets. The Nets have had, I don't know if issue is the right word, but they've had an inability all year to blow teams out. Like, you'd think this team with Durant and Harden and Irving and Harris and Griffin, etc., would blow teams out regularly. They really haven't. They've had a few blowout wins against the Pacers, the Timberwolves, the Pelicans, the Hornets. They've had a few, but they've had more close wins than blowout wins. I guess that's common. But I did want this team to blow out their opponents more regularly. I did say that on a Brooklyn Nets episode. Is it the end of the world if they don't blow out their opponents a lot? No. A win is a win. But look, I did want this team to dominate a little bit more than they have. Well, they dominated yesterday. From the word go, they were the better team. What was the issue that the Nets had on Saturday night? They couldn't shoot. They remembered how to shoot. The Nets shot 52.5% from three in the first half. Joe Harris was absolutely unconscious. That was without question the best game I've ever seen Joe Harris have. He ended up making 7 threes. 6 of them came in the first half. He finished with 25 points, 1 point behind Durant. He actually attempted the most field goals out of any player yesterday. Everyone was keying in on Durant, Irving, and Harden. So Joe Harris was left wide open for threes. That's a shooter's dream. He said that after the game. He's 100% right. In Game 1, the Nets offense almost entirely flowed through the big three. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But everyone realized it. Brad Stevens realized it. The Celtics realized it. So, you kind of forgot about guys like Harris and Griffin and Shamet and Jeff Green. Those guys are capable of going off. Joe Harris is arguably the best three-point shooter in the NBA. You leave him open, and he'll tie the Nets record for most threes made in a single playoff game. This is a win that had to give you a ton of confidence if you're a Nets fan. I know that it gave me a ton of confidence. This game was over in the second quarter. I did keep it on past that. I just wanted to enjoy it a little bit more. This was like the picture-perfect Nets win. You've got the offense going off. Durant had 26 points. Harden had 20 points. Blake Griffin had 11. Kyrie Irving had 15. A little bit of an off night for him, but he actually shot the ball efficiently. 6 for 12 from the field. That's fine. Like, seriously, I have no issues with what Kyrie Irving did yesterday. None whatsoever. Off the bench, Landry Shamet had 10 points. Their defense was immaculate. Another game where the defense steps up. No Celtics scored 20 points. Jason Tatum only had 9 points. I know he only played 21 minutes, but he did shoot 3 for 12 from the field. That's not going to work. And to make matters even worse for Tatum, he suffered an eye injury, got poked in the eye. You gotta think that he's gonna play on Friday. I'd be surprised if he didn't. Without him, the Celtics may lose by 40. Like, I'm being serious. The Nets are dealing with an injury also. Jeff Green has a bruised left foot. I have no idea if he's gonna play on Friday or not. If he doesn't, it's really not the end of the world. All due respect to Jeff Green, and I truly do mean with all due respect, because he's been a great bench player for the Nets. He started a bunch of games also. He actually started more games than he came off the bench, but in these playoffs, he's coming off the bench. Really good player, like him a lot. It could be worse. The Nets will be able to survive that injury. The Celtics can't survive a Tatum injury. The Nets can survive a Green injury. If Green doesn't play on Friday, it'll be interesting to see who gets his minutes. Does Steve Nash run an 8-man rotation? Or does he bring someone in off the end of the bench? When you look at the end of the bench, one name stands out, DeAndre Jordan. But Jordan didn't even get in garbage time. He hasn't played in garbage time all year. It's weird. He's only played 5 minutes of basketball since the Nets lost the back end of the 2 games that they had against the Bucks in Milwaukee in early May. Are you really comfortable putting DeAndre Jordan in? I mean, theoretically, you could do it. Jordan matches up well with Tristan Thompson and Robert Williams. You want to give Jordan like 10 to 15 minutes? I don't mind it. I think it could work. But if Steve Nash really doesn't trust him, and I don't think he does, I wouldn't mind seeing a guy like Alize Johnson get some minutes. Even Reggie Perry. I feel like I prefer Johnson to Perry. Nothing against Perry. I like Perry. I still think he can turn into a solid NBA player. But Johnson is just a beast on the boards. Solid defender. I wouldn't mind Johnson getting some minutes. You have a 2-0 lead against a Boston Celtics team that may be without its best player and is without its second best player. You think the Celtics miss Jaylen Brown? You can afford to try a few things. At the end of the day, DeAndre Jordan's making $10 million. Don't you want to put him out there for a little bit and just see what he could do? Aren't you a little curious to see what Alize Johnson could do in the playoffs? Like, he really impressed me in the limited time that I saw him. I mean, it's possible it may not get to that point. Jeff Green may be able to play on Friday. I have no idea. Look, this Nets team is clicking on all cylinders right now. They got the offense going. Their defense has been great. They're doing exactly what they need to do in this series. They're finding ways to win. 2 down, 14 to go. Moving on now to Lakers Suns, an absolutely thrilling game. Close all throughout. The Lakers did have a 15-point lead at one point, but the Suns came storming back. The Suns did have the lead in the fourth quarter, but you know what? LeBron and AD stepped up. LeBron played the whole fourth quarter, facilitated the offense, played really good defense. Anthony Davis had 14 points. He had 9 of 10 free throws in the fourth quarter. That's really impressive. I mean, a bunch of Lakers stepped up. Dennis Schroeder had 24 points, one more than LeBron. Andre Drummond had a double-double. Marc Gasol was solid. Alex Caruso was really good. The Lakers needed to win this game. They couldn't fall down 2-0 and expect to come back in this series. That just wasn't going to work. I don't care that they're going back to the Staples Center. I just didn't see it happening. I didn't think the Suns would blow a 2-0. This was really a must-win game for the Lakers. And they won. Give them credit. I mean, this loss will sting if you're a Suns fan. You had the opportunity to put a stranglehold on this series, and you couldn't do it. You had every opportunity to win this game. The Suns had the lead with under 5 minutes left. Then the Lakers just took over. I mean, that's when the Suns could have used Chris Paul. Obvious statement of the year coming up. Chris Paul was not 100% yesterday. He only played 22 minutes. Only had 6 points. He wasn't even in the game at crunch time. Cameron Payne was. Now give Cameron Payne credit. He played well. It actually may have been the best game he's had all year. 19 points and 7 assists. Did a good job playmaking. It was actually a very impressive performance, but Cameron Payne isn't a future Hall of Famer. When you're without one of the best point guards in NBA history, that doesn't bode well for you. Chris Paul only played 22 minutes yesterday. If he had played his normal 31, I think it's safe to say that the Suns win. Like, this loss has to kill you if you're a Suns fan. You have the chance to put your foot on the throat of the Lakers. You have a chance to win the game late, but you're without your second or third best player, depending on how you feel about DeAndre Ayton. If you had him at 100%, you probably win yesterday. Now you've really given the Lakers new life. The series isn't over by any stretch. It's down to a best 3 out of 5. The Suns have a great chance of winning this series, but they would have had a much better chance of winning if they had won that game yesterday. And that was a game that they could have won. If I was a Suns fan, I'd be upset over this loss. It's not the kind of loss where you say, oh, how does my team play like that? Blah, blah, blah. It's the kind of loss that makes you go, man, we had the opportunity to take an ironclad grip of this series. But because Chris Paul was hurt, and because we couldn't stop Anthony Davis, we couldn't do it. Yeah, it stings. But like I said, that series isn't over. The series that very well may be over is the series concerning the other LA team. The stunner of all stunners so far in the NBA playoffs is the fact that the Mavericks were able to win the first 2 games of this series in the Staples Center. This vaunted Clippers defense just no-showed. Luka Doncic had 39 points. Kristaps Porzingis had 20 points. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 28 points. That is inexcusable. Hardaway has been the second best Maverick in this series. You can make the argument that he's the 4th or 5th best Maverick, period. I'd put Brunson ahead of Hardaway. Maybe I would put Finney Smith ahead of Hardaway. Maybe I wouldn't. It's close. It's closer than you'd think. I mean, this is a Clippers team with great defenders. Kawhi Leonard once won Finals MVP for shutting down LeBron James. Paul George is a 4-time All-Defensive player. Patrick Beverley's a good defender. Nick Batum's a good defender. Serge Ibaka's a good defender. Somehow, someway, you allow this Mavericks team to shoot 58% from the field and 53% from beyond the arc. This game should not have been a 6-point game. This was more of a blowout. The only reason that it was this close was because the Mavericks missed 11 of their 24 free throws. The Clippers were getting lucky. The basketball gods were giving them opportunities to win. But no one except Kawhi Leonard stepped up. Paul George with another disappointing playoff performance. I understand that he had a double-double. 28 points and 12 rebounds. Great. Fantastic. Can you shoot better than 1 for 7 from beyond the arc, though? Maybe Patrick Beverley could be a little more aggressive offensively. Maybe Ivica Zubac could be a little more aggressive offensively. I mean, let me say this. If the Clippers get eliminated from the playoffs early again, realize last year in the bubble, they blew a 3-1 to the Nuggets. You've got to make some serious changes. You mortgage the future to bring in Paul George. What has it gotten you? You lose to an inferior Nuggets team. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard no-show in that Game 7. And now this? Being down 2-0 to a Mavericks team that, let's be honest, when you faced them in the bubble last year, you were lucky to beat. If Porzingis was 100%, the Mavericks probably beat you. I mean, I don't know what you can do to get better. You put all your eggs in the Paul George basket. That hasn't worked. I mean, let me throw out a scenario. Let's say the Clippers lose this series. Are we sure that Kawhi's coming back? Are we sure that he's not gonna wanna go to a team where he can actually win another championship? I mean, I've thrown this possibility out before. Kawhi to the Knicks. If Kawhi Leonard goes to the Knicks, oh my God! That team does have a great shot of winning the NBA Finals. The Hornets would make some sense, although I don't see Kawhi Leonard willingly leaving the Clippers to go to Charlotte. He makes that team a lot better. He'd give them a defensive stopper, something they don't have. He'd give them an alpha. It's probably not going to happen, but it does make more sense than you think it does when you first hear it. The Heat makes sense. We know that the Heat love going after veterans. They made the trade for Oladipo. It didn't work. You replace him with Kawhi Leonard. Oh, God. Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo. That team may not give up 110 points in a game all season. The Grizzlies make some sense. Kawhi could join a young and exciting team. The Mavericks make a little bit of sense if Kawhi really wants to stick it to the Spurs. I just don't think that we should take Kawhi coming back to the Clippers as lock, stock, and barrel. I think there is a possibility that he leaves. And if he does, then they better trade Paul George. They better blow that team up. Recoup some of that draft capital. I mean, this was mentioned on the broadcast yesterday, and I didn't realize this. The Clippers lost to the Rockets, and they lost to the Thunder to close out the season. There is no question that the Rockets and Thunder combined aren't better than the Clippers. The Clippers did tank those games away. They wanted the 4 seed. They wanted to go up against the Mavericks. They didn't want to go up against the Blazers or Lakers. Well, be careful what you wish for. You might just get it. I'm not saying the Mavericks are a great team. They're not. But they're still up 2-0 in this series. I mean, give them credit for taking advantage of the Clippers. This is a series that I thought would go 7 games. There's a real chance that it ends in a sweep. Alright, now it's time to preview tonight's 3 games. I'll start with Wizards-Sixers. If the Wizards are going to win this game, they need Russell Westbrook to get going. I don't want it to seem like I'm picking on Russell Westbrook. I've gotten some heat from people saying, oh, Jacob, you're keying in on Westbrook too much. We get that you don't like him enough. Yeah, I don't like him, but I don't think I'm picking on him. I want him to step up his game in the playoffs. What's so wrong about that? What's so wrong about one of the most dominant players in NBA history stepping up his game with the lights on bright? I mean, realize this guy is making over $41 million this year. Yeah, okay. It's good that he just scored 16 points. It's good that he turned the ball over 6 times. He needs to step up. It's just that simple. Without Westbrook playing like he's capable of playing, the Wizards will get swept. As for the Sixers, they don't really need to change much. I guess the one thing I would say would be get Ben Simmons a little more involved. He only attempted 9 field goals. That's not going to work. He only had 6 points. Granted, he went 0 for 6 from the charity stripe, and he found other ways to get involved. He had a double-double with rebounds and assists. But I would like Simmons to score more points. I don't think you can expect Tobias Harris to score 37 points again. Simmons is going to need to pick up some of that slack. And I think he will. I don't think the Wizards have a chance in this series. I said that before the series started. Game 1 made me even more confident. I gotta pick the Sixers. Moving on now to Hawks Knicks. And my Cliff Hagan jersey is in the mail. No, I'm only kidding. But yeah, I am pulling for the Hawks hard in this series. Oh, man. If the Hawks are gonna win, one of 2 things need to happen. Someone other than Trae Young needs to step up. Bogdan Bogdanović had 18 points. Okay, I get that. He did his thing. I'm not knocking him, but Capella needs to step up. Hunter needs to step up. Collins needs to step up. Herter needs to step up. Gallinari needs to step up. 2 of the 3 best players for the Hawks in this game can't be Bogdanović and Lou Williams. All due respect to those guys, but they're less important to the Hawks as a guy like John Collins or Clint Capella. Even DeAndre Hunter, too. Very good defender. The second thing is that Trae Young needs to get to the free throw line more. Young is an excellent free throw shooter, and he's very good at getting to the free throw line. He knows how to work the officials. He draws contact like James Harden, and he hits free throws like Steve Nash. The thing is, though, for the first 3 quarters of that game on Sunday night, he didn't attempt a single free throw. That's not going to work. He's got to be more aggressive in getting to the line. Draw those fouls. That's your game. I know that Nerlens Noel is a great defender. But you're Trae Young. You're one of the 50 best players in the NBA. You may even be above 50. You'll get those calls, I promise you. Trae Young needs to drive to the hoop more. It's just that simple. As for the Knicks, it's really, really simple. Julius Randle needs to step up. He cannot have another game where he shoots just over 25% from the field. This guy was the best player on the Knicks this year. He was an all-star. He won Most Improved Player. He cannot have another game where he hits just 6 of his 23 field goals. I mean, Randle only had 15 points. To put that in perspective, his average this year is 24. If Randle hits just 2 more shots, the Knicks win. And we're not regarding Trae Young as the next Reggie Miller or Michael Jordan in terms of Knicks villains. If the Knicks don't win this game, the series is over. Realize the series is going to Atlanta. That doesn't bode well for the Knicks. That crowd's going to be rocking. I think that Randle will be motivated. He knows what he needs to do. I think the Knicks are winning this game. The last NBA game to talk about is Grizzlies Jazz. If the Grizzlies are going to win this game, and you know what, I'll throw the Jazz in here too, because it's very similar. It's all about Donovan Mitchell. If the Grizzlies can stop Mitchell, they've got a great chance of winning this game. I mean, realize, he didn't play in Game 1. What happened in Game 1? The Grizzlies won. And he got the reports that said that Mitchell is upset with the Jazz medical staff. If they can really slow down Mitchell, they'll win this game. Conversely, Mitchell needs to step up. He can't show any wear and tear. He's got to hit the ground running. I want the first possession that the Jazz have to end in a Mitchell make. That'll get the crowd into it. It'll give Mitchell some confidence. And you'll hear people saying, he's back. All in all, with Mitchell healthy, I don't see how the Grizzlies can beat the Jazz. The Grizzlies only won by 3 in Game 1. If Mitchell plays, the Jazz win. It's just that simple. The Jazz are going to win this game very easily. Alright, now I'll give you some NHL Valk talk. And I'll start with Leafs-Habs. The Leafs took an absolute stranglehold on this series. There's no way that the Habs are going to come back and win 3 straight. I mean, it was kind of interesting how that game unfolded. The Habs made a concerted effort to play physically. And they did. They out-hit the Leafs 40-16. Congratulations. Doesn't mean anything, though. The Leafs won 4-0. Jack Campbell stopped all 32 Habs shots. What did I tell you? Sheldon Keefe was going to need to start Jack Campbell. He listened to me. Good for him. Believe it or not, I actually know a little bit about sports. Jack Campbell is playing the best hockey of his life. In this series, he has only given up 4 goals. I don't know if Sheldon Keefe ever really thought about putting Frederik Andersen in. I'll give Keefe the benefit of the doubt and say that he didn't. It was never in doubt to me who should start Game 4. Jack Campbell. The way he's playing right now, the Leafs could go on a huge run. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they steamrolled over the Jets. Moving on now to Predators Hurricanes. What a weird game. At the end of 3, the score was Yakov Trenin 2, Martin Necas 2. Out of all the guys who you expected to step up and score 2 goals in a Game 5, did you have Trenin and Necas? Maybe you would have had Necas. Maybe. Although I would have said Sebastian Aho, Vincent Trocheck, Andrei Svechnikov, and Nino Niederreiter before I said Necas. But you definitely didn't have Trenin. Here's a guy who only had 11 points in 45 games. I mean, I'll say this. The first Trenin goal was a cheapie. It was initially credited to Roman Josi. It looked like Josi just shot a knuckleball in from the point, but Trenin did deflect it past Nedeljkovic. I mean, you could tell that Ned just did not see that puck. That was a bad job by him. That's one that he'd like to have back. The first Necas goal was a nice power play goal. Good pass by Dougie Hamilton. That was a good goal. The second Predators goal was a really nice play by Colton Sissons. Got a breakaway going, made a beautiful pass to Trenin. So, the 2 Trenin goals really weren't his doing. Now, he did have a goal called back in this game. It looked like Jordan Stahl had angled the puck in off his skate. You can do that, you just can't make a distinct kicking motion. But after a review, it was deemed that there was goalie interference. Warren Foegele interfered with UC Saros. I mean, it was close. It was really, really close. I mean, Foegele did make contact with Saros. It looked like he was in the blue paint. Some people will say that Roman Josi pushed him into Saros. I don't know. It's really, really close. Ultimately, it didn't matter much. Natchez had a really nice wraparound goal to tie the game at 2. And then, under 2 minutes into overtime, realize games 3 and 4 both went into double overtime. This game ended less than 2 minutes into single overtime. Jordan Staal had really good hand-eye coordination. He was able to bat the puck out of midair into the net. Saros was expecting a harder deflection. That's why he kicked his leg out. The fact that Staal didn't get all of it actually helped him. It threw Saros off. That opened up his 5-hole. The Canes won 3-2. Really impressive win by the Canes. Game 6 is in Nashville. It's going to be competitive. You know Smashville is going to be rocking. I'm going to be locked into that game. But now it's time to preview tonight's 3 NHL games. I'll start with Penguins Islanders. If the Penguins are going to win, I'll go back to something that I said before Game 3. They need to score quickly. They need to get the first goal. They need to get the crowd out of it. Because that crowd is going to be wound up like crazy. The last time that the Islanders clinched a series at the Nassau Coliseum was 1993. It was against the Washington Capitals. So we're on the verge of seeing something that hasn't happened in 28 years. Islanders fans know that. They're going to be loud. They're going to be rowdy. They're going to be into it from the jump. The Penguins need to get the crowd out of it. As for the Islanders, they need to help Sorokin out. Don't make it so he needs to make 48 saves to win this game. Get more shots on net. Tristan Jarry isn't that good. Help your goalie out. It's just that simple. I'll be looking at the third line in particular, because Oliver Wahlstrom is a game-time decision. Barry Trotz did say that if Wahlstrom doesn't play, Travis Zajac will get in. So we could get a line of Palmieri, Pajot, and Zajac. I'll be very interested to see what that line does. Barzal needs to rip the puck more, stop trying to look for the perfect shot. Just put the puck on net. Please, please, please. All in all, I really think the Islanders are going to win it here. I don't think that this will be the last playoff game that the Nassau Coliseum will ever host. The New York Islanders will win tonight. And if I sound scratchy tomorrow, you'll know why. Moving on now to Panthers Lightning. If the Panthers are going to win, they need to get their top guys more involved. I'm looking at guys like Huberdeau, Barkov, Verhaeghe, and Duclair. The 4 Panthers that scored on Monday were Mackenzie Weegar, Mason Marchment, Patrick Hornquist, and Frank Vetrano. That's great. Good for them for stepping up. But where are the big guns? Where's Huberdeau? Where's Barkov? Where's Verhaeghe? You know he's motivated to play against his old team. Where's Duclair? I want those guys to step up. As for the Lightning, it's really the same thing. I got the sense in watching that game that the Lightning's big guns were underestimating Spencer Knight. They just expected him to fold under the pressure. No, this guy's a good goalie. Nothing's going to be handed to them here. Guys like Point, Palat, Hedman, Gord, Stamkos, Kucherov, etc., can't take anything for granted. They've got to step up and end the series here. If they play a Game 7 in Sunrise, that's going to be tough. But I don't think that's going to happen. I do think that the Lightning are going to end the series here. In the Battle of Florida, the Lightning will come out victorious. The last game to talk about is Golden Knights Wild. If the Golden Knights are going to win, Marc-Andre Fleury needs to get back to the Fleury of games 1 through 4. Game 5 was a terrible performance. He allowed 3 goals on 13 shots. All 3 of those goals that he allowed came in less than 8 minutes. He just forgot how to play hockey, it seemed like. The Golden Knights thoroughly outplayed the Wild. Look, what that game proved is that Marc-Andre Fleury is human. But he really needs to step up if the Golden Knights are going to win this game. That's how the Golden Knights have won all their games in this series. As for the Wild, they need to get more pucks on net. To have 14 total shots in a game is inexcusable. To have 1 shot in the second period is unforgivable. You're not going to win another game like that. The Wild did not deserve to win. Make no mistake about it. Watching that game as a Wild fan, you couldn't feel good about your chances. The Golden Knights are going to win it here. They've outplayed the Wild for basically the whole series. Fleury's going to wake up. The Golden Knights are winning it. Until tomorrow, I am Jacob Valk saying that my friend's wife is so ugly that he takes her on road trips because he can't stand to kiss her goodbye.